try all my songs out on my dogs. The dog like sits there and watches you as you're playing your song or, chord progression. If he sits there and he lays down there and you're doing okay. Now, if he gets up and walks off, change your chord progression or change the record you're playing. Dogs know.
All right, let's do this. Jeff Ousley is first and foremost a coffee connoisseur. Most often you'll find him at his workstation making coffee via French press, pour over drip, plunger press, letting it percolate, or using a vacuum. When not making coffee with the precision of a fucking chemist, he's a guitar tech. He's toured with David Bowie, Elvis Costello, Neil Young, Patti Smith, Edie Brickell and the New Bohemians, Georgia Satellites, Jason and the Scorchers, Heart, and Pearl Jam. Lately, when asked, he will tell you he's currently Ann Wilson's gardener and pool plant looker after person. The rest of the Heart crew are hoping to get him back making coffee soon. My second guest is his buddy Keith Meaux Windhorst, who's a front of house engineer. His console is literally on fire. You'll most often find him hunched down working under his console, possibly still wearing his birthday crown and cape. If you're another roadie, I'm one step ahead of you. You're jumping to the conclusion that he's down there blowing someone. I know, but you're wrong. While that might be the reason most sound guys are hiding under their consoles, Mo has actually fashioned a couple exhaust fans with the purpose of venting smoke from his cigarettes while in non-smoking venues. Newsflash.
You just ratted me out.
You out. You can play Maxie Williams, dude. He's got a big mouth, this roadie. Newsflash, sound guys. The rest of us roadies know there ain't shit to fix under a console. We don't know shit about sound, but you've made us all move consoles once or twice, and we know what's under them. Mo has toured with Journey, Debbie Traylor, Deana Carter, Heart, and Lauryn Hill. In addition, he's part of the Louisiana Music Hall of Fame, which is a big deal because there's 3 other people in it. And I don't know him. And you don't know them, and I'm not related to him. And I'm going to say so. I take it that you two met each other touring with that Led Zeppelin cover band, Heart. Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's correct.
Those are my digs. So hopefully got a laugh out of you guys. But
Jeffo was there long before me. And when I joined the crew, it was Jeffo, Jason, Joel, and Jeff. And I was the only guy in the crew that didn't start with the J's. And they still accepted me. How about that?
That's right. Yeah. And I'm the only one still standing.
That's right.
Everyone else is... I don't know. I've done something right or something wrong. I don't know.
How long have you worked for Heart, Jeff?
Coming on almost 30 years.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's like forever gig.
Pretty much. Like I said, I've done something right or wrong. I don't know.
I watched an old
no one can get away from the coffee. He still, they need the coffee.
I guess, but yeah. So anyway, I'm the highest paid coffee maker you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna keep it.
Well, I like it. So
needing a raise.
What's what?
And I need a raise.
Yeah. Do you want me to reach out to the Heart people and tell them?
Oh yeah. I'm sure it'll go over really well.
I've got an in. I actually had a so it was I think it was a bass case. And it was for a tour that you guys did in Japan, but there was no bass in it. But the bass was the shape of a heart. And
no, it was not.
And I sold it on eBay, but I only have the case. The inside of it smelled moldy, man. But
okay, I just want to correct something on your intro there. Yes, there is a panel under my console that has 4 fans which blow smoke inward. Okay, so yes, I found a way to pretty much have a cigarette in every non-smoking venue in America. It's a long time, 2-hour show is a long time to be out there without having a cigarette when you smoke like a chimney like I do. So I have to, we have to adapt. That's what roadies do, right, Jeffo?
You got to
We
adapt. It's the first letter in the alphabet. A, adapt.
Adapt. That's right.
Okay. Well, I had a couple. So these guys, they're going on and on and on. I'm 2.5 hours deep and they're still talking. I'm like, I hate to be rude. I got to piss. Like I got to go. So you guys talk. I'll be back. I've done it twice now where I've just let them talk. I'm like, I got to piss. So I understand if you need your cigarette, you need your cigarette. So what's with the cape and the crown?
Did Jeffo tell you that story?
I did not tell him the story.
Okay.
I got people, man. I got people.
So when we're touring with Heart back in those days, Ann and Nancy are obviously the face of the monster, right? Not the monster. They're fantastic. No, I said the wrong word. They're the face of the organization. But back in the dressing room for that entire time is the older sister, the first.
Yeah.
Lynn Wilson.
So I was going to ask you, what's her?
Yeah, the wiser, older wiser, the hippie, the doctor, the seamstress, you name
the
it.
Leader, the older
Lynn was
sister.
everything, right? And
So she works. She's part of the. She's part of the gig.
She was part of the touring gig back in those days, yeah, and she did everything for them. And
Don't ever piss Lynn Wilson
She
off.
was the mother too, right? Well, Lynn.
Don't ever make her mad. I've seen her mad twice.
Being very handy with a needle and thread, she made me this cape, and it was like this black velvet and a lot of gold, sparkly. I mean, I don't think she intended it to be that way, but to me, it was a perfect representation of the New Orleans Saints, baby. It was black and gold, which is what I am, right? Fleur de lis and all that stuff, yeah. Right? And so we were doing a show in Canada one night, and it was the last show of the tour. And of course, Ann goes around and in the middle of right before the last song or whatever, she decides to thank everyone on the crew and, and mentions Jeffo and Jay, all the guys on stage. And she mentions the lighting director, thank you, Dale. And then she says, and something, there's a video on YouTube somewhere around, but she mentions me, and unbeknownst to me, our tour manager is standing behind me with this cape. And as she says my name, I just kind of wave, acknowledge, like, thank you, right? He puts this cape on me, and then every wiggle light in the entire room goes, whap! And I mean, I'm like the big, giant 300-pound mirror ball, because shit is just, it's all sparkly and glittery and shit's bouncing off me all over this stuff. And yeah, somewhere along the line, a crown came into play and the cape, and I still have the cape, man. It's part of the Halloween New Orleans Saints costume scenario. How about that?
Sounds good.
But it was handmade by Miss Lynn Wilson, and I love her for it.
That's cool. So what were the 2 times you saw Lynn mad, Jeff? Or we should not say.
Oh, gosh, I don't even want to. That's just words to the wise, or words. That's just a public service announcement. Don't ever make Lynn Wilson mad. She got mad about something. Somebody tried to do something. I can't remember what it was, but it's not pretty, and you don't ever want to make her mad. That's my public service announcement.
It wasn't that the coffee tasted poorly.
Lynn's the kind of person. She's the kind of person, like, you could be on a gig in the middle of, Asimumu, Arkansas somewhere or whatever, and you need a 5/16 special hex bolt, whatever, in one of her sewing kits or road trunk. She's got it, right? She could, right. Lynn, I need binoculars for a tree frog or something. Oh, I got that. She's
yeah. Or need somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
She like talk you off the ledge about something going on at home or something like that, or or just she was the boss. She was the big sister, and so spent a lot of time with Lynn Wilson, and She's
So-
an angel.
In contemporary-ish times, they had a couple of these shows that they were huge, I guess, for better wordage, I don't know. But that Hall of Fame induction in 2013, were you guys both working that gig?
It was the longest 2 days ever.
It was a very long 2 days. Yeah.
And it was fun. I mean, it was
It was the most
It was-
unorganized show I've ever been on.
There's like a bunch of other little stories that go along with it, but at the end of the day, I mean, I have my own thoughts of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but
Yeah.
hey, man, for them, it was a great acknowledgement. It's an acknowledgement of a career well done, and you jump through the hoops and say the right things, and yeah, you're right. It was a long 2 days, and it was pretty cool.
I've been on a better award shows, if there's such a thing.
yeah.
It was very unorganized.
It was a couple years in my career with Hart, and then they got inducted in the Hall of Fame. And then when I moved over to Journey about 2 or 3 years later, they got inducted into the Hall of Fame. So I've done it twice. So I think it's me, actually. So if you are in a band, if you're in a band and it's on the fence, hire me.
Mo.
You'll get inducted. That's it. Yeah.
That's great.
I used to think I had all these bands I worked for that broke up, and I was like, "Is it me?" It's all these bands. I was like, every time I get this band, and then like 2 years, like, oh, we're calling it quits. I was like, "Is it me?" So I go the other direction.
I could give you a funny story about that Hart Hall of Fame thing.
Yeah, what do you got?
Okay, so early in my career, we've talked about this. Jeff knows. Early in your career, he's got a long career at Hart, but I didn't. And there was a lot of things you do for the paycheck, right? And I used to work for a sound company out in Long Island, New York. And when rap, hip hop music was starting to become popular, companies like Claire Brothers and Showco and whatever, the big audio companies really weren't taking it serious. So this company was getting a lot of those tours. We're going into arenas and freaking selling out arenas with guys scratching records on turntables and people yelling stuff in microphones, right? Anyway, not my cup of tea, but a paycheck's a paycheck. And, Mo rhymed with yo. So I was memorable. They could remember me, yo, Mo. So I got, more tours. And then you try and price yourself out of the tour, but they decide to pay it. So you do it again. Anyway, I did a bunch of those tours, and 2 of them were with Public Enemy. You're familiar with Public Enemy, right?
Yeah, man.
Okay. So I got I was working on stage. I got to know the guys.
Was NWA on that tour?
No, this wasn't that one.
Okay.
No, I did some stuff with Ice Cube, but that was after NWA. But anyway, so you get to know the guys a little bit here and there, blah, blah, blah. Time goes on, I move on and I get back into the rock world, which is my thing, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so Hart gets inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And like Jeffro said, it's the longest 2 days ever. Well, you got a whole rehearsal day and this and that, and then you're there crazy early for the production day and stuff. Anyway, I got to go upstairs to the dress rooms for something, and I get in an elevator. It's probably like, 3 or 4 hours before the show is ready to go on. And I get in an elevator, and who comes walking in the elevator but about 10 guys from Public Enemy. And I hadn't seen them in forever. And literally, Chuck D looks at me like, I'm like, yeah. And it had been 20 years. I don't know. So it was a pretty cool,
Totally cool
moment because they were inducted the same year too as Hart was. And so here we are in the elevator, hugging it out with all the S1Ws and Chuck and Terminator. And yeah, I didn't, that was a complete circle of part of my career that I never thought would be circled back again. But it happened in an elevator in LA at the Hall of Fame thing. So.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt that it's a damn cool band too.
yeah. I mean, like that was definitely not my genre of music, but it doesn't take long to see where the talent is, and those guys are talented.
There's no question. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
And then what about the Kennedy Center performance? When they did the rehearsals, were you? Oh God, why? Okay,
yeah, he and I were in a ballroom in Orlando, Florida when that took place. We were doing a corporate gig there in Orlando. The girls literally did sound check or whatever the day before, got on a plane, flew to Kennedy Center, did that, flew back to Orlando while we were doing the gig. We actually had nothing to do with that performance.
So, I mean, was it a surprise, or would you even know that I mean, it's such a big deal. Was that just a shock?
It was first time I saw it, I was mouth open.
Super top secret.
Yeah. I mean, we'd heard about what happened, but you could hear about it. When you see it, it's moving, right? To see how the Zeppelin guys reacted to it makes it even more moving.
Did they do Stairway at the corporate gig?
It's funny that after that happened, no, they didn't do Stairway at the corporate gig, but the next year, or on the success of that video, I think sparked the idea that Heart toured, and the opening act was Jason Bonham's Led Zeppelin Experience. He was support, and they did a big Zeppelin set, and then Heart would do their set, and then the encore was
like four Zeppelin.
Jason playing 4 Zeppelin songs with the girls. The last one being Stairway to Heaven with
his guitar player.
Yeah,
and that guy Tony played guitar.
Yeah, and then another
player. Yeah,
we're bringing the local choir in each city, and pretty much do our best to
rent a choir.
replicate that moment. It was really cool.
Yeah, super cool. That's a neat tour.
I have another story about that. Here comes the stupid stories.
Yeah, bring them on. The dumber, the better. We're not bright people over here.
So like he said, Jefferson, rent a choir, right? You go into all these cities, and what was her name, Jeff? Miss Ruby or something? Remember Ruby?
Oh, what was her name?
There was a amazing. I guess she was like choir leader at a church in Seattle, and Ann was friends with her. And so they hired her and another gentleman that came on the road with us, and their gig was to whip in shape and rehearse the local choir that we would hire in that city. And they would get them ready to do the Stairway to Heaven thing. So, you go into Philly, and we get one of the choirs out of one of the churches there, and they would come in and rehearse, do Stairway to Heaven, and whatever the next city. And we had all these choirs. Anyway, we did a show in Bethel, New York, which is the site of Woodstock, right? And literally, like up until 2 or 3 days before that show, production didn't have a choir lined up. They couldn't get a choir. And didn't want to tell Ann and Nancy that we didn't have a choir. It was just, we're going to go to the last minute and get a choir. Couldn't get a choir. So there is a great video on YouTube. What they did was they never got a choir for that show. So Miss Ruby took every available crew person who wasn't essential to that moment in the show. Truck drivers, drum tech, Heart's drummer, because Jason Bonham was playing drums, wardrobe chicks, you name it. She took everyone who was not available, who was not immediately working, and turned them into a choir for that part of the show, right? And didn't tell the girls, okay? So here we go, comes the Stairway to Heaven, and Nancy starts playing, Ann starts singing, Ann's out on the stage thrust, so she's out in the front of the crowd, and it gets kind of halfway into the song before the choir files onto their risers and starts singing, and Ann finishes that verse and turns around and starts walking up stage, and the stage is kind of dark, and when the choir does their first ooh or whatever part there is, the light comes up on them, and Ann happens to be looking. And when she sees the face of the tour manager and the wardrobe girl and the bus driver, and she sees all of these people who are on the crew are now the choir, the look on her face is just priceless. You know?
That's amazing.
And then Nancy, like, while playing guitar, is freaking out. No, Jeffro, back me up. They did a pretty good, commendable job, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But it was a complete shock to the girls. And if you see the video, go search it out. Roadie Choir or something like that.
I'll check it out for sure. It's hilarious. That's awesome.
It's awesome. It's just to see the look on Ann's face and then the look on Nancy's face is classic, man. Classic.
Oh, super cool. You got any cool stories with David Bowie, Jeff? Because I've heard a couple on here, and John Mayton.
Well, I used to make him a cup of coffee every day, and he knew everybody's name on the tour. Pretty much, he knew what everybody did. Hats off to that guy, man. He knew what was going on at all times. Said hello to me every day. Just like he was the top.
Yeah.
Came to sound check every day, pretty much every day. Knew what everybody did on the tour. Was like, did a 2.5 hour show every night, and just amazing. That's all I can say is amazing. He was a hero for sure.
He's a really neat guy. I've heard some wonderful stories.
For more than one day. He was a hero for more than one day.
Yeah, there you go.
Unintended.
Right. Very good. Very good.
That was quick, Jeff. That was a good one.
Okay. Also, if you want to find anything, we'll go back to Heart.
Sure.
There's a good, if you're dishing out good videos on YouTube, I think it's a crew prank. It's like the second, Mo had already headed to Journey by then. He was on his journey, I should say. But I did that at the end of the
train,
tour.
the train. Yeah. Is that it?
I did a prank at the end. They used to do Immigrant songs. And so the second or thirds of the last show, I started building a pirate ship out of cardboard on a lighting case. And then I dressed up 3 of the carpenter and 2 of the Cheap Trick guys in pirates outfits. And
Vikings.
during Immigrant
Vikings,
song,
right?
and Viking, yeah, and Vikings, thank you. And the Vikings, and they pushed the Viking ship across the stage 3 times during Immigrant song. It's on there too. It's one of the best, and even Nancy goes, "That's one of the best pranks you've ever done." And it was like, everybody goes, "You're going to get fired." I'm like, on the last day, who cares? It's the last day of the tour. And they were like, "That's the best prank you've ever done." And I worked at it. We did a dress rehearsal 2 days before, at sound check. The whole thing. Painted up this lighting and sound design case, or whatever they're called, Solo Tech case or whatever, and did a cardboard Viking ship, and it was done well. Brian from Cheap Trick, the production manager, he ended up dressing up in a hot dog outfit and threw out hot dog buns, which I don't know where that comes in on being a Viking.
I don't think the original Vikings did that. No.
Yeah, that one threw me off, but I was okay with it. He went with it. He gave it his all. But
where were the hot dogs when you needed them?
That's one of my better pranks. Other than on the George Michael tour, I did a prank on the George Michael tour, the last one in, I think it was 89 or 90. He always would walk onto the ego ramp with a thrust of the stage, and towards the end of the show he'd go, "Okay, there's one song. I know there's one song you want to hear. I know there's one song you want to hear." And it was Freedom. Everybody would yell back Freedom to him. But I got 50 or 60 poster boards, and I wrote Freebird on it, and I gave them to all the people in the front row. And I said, when he yells that, write up Freebird. And all the "Okay, you're gonna get fired." I was like, "It's the last day." And he got to one knee. He was speechless.
That's hilarious.
And I was the only American guy on the tour. I was the only septic on the tour. And me and one other guy, me and Bob Rice. world famous Bob Rice. Everybody goes, "You're going to get fired." I'm like, "It's the last day."
Septic. That's a good word. That's what the Brits used to call American roadies, septics. Yeah, that was cool.
Septic tank, yank.
Uh-huh.
Good old Cockney rhyming slang. Yeah, I was the only. Me and one other guy were the only septics on the tour. But yeah, that was one other good prank I did.
Remember when you got yelled at for bringing the baby goat on stage?
Bringing the baby goat on stage.
That's hard.
Yes, that's hard.
Yeah, I like to push the envelope.
What were you doing with the goat though?
I don't know. I think we were at the fair.
It was like a state fair or something, and there was goats and pigs and shit all around. And he just decided that we needed to have a baby goat on stage, and I'm out front. And we're about to do line check, and Jeff has got a baby in the microphone.
It gets boring out there.
Yeah,
it gets boring out there. You got to do some stuff. It's all about the laughs. I'm sure I did a lot of other stupid stuff too, but some of it I can't remember till like 2:00 in the morning. I'll remember it.
You got any ones that didn't go so good where they backfired on you?
Oh goodness, probably 100. Low battery. Oh geez.
Oh no.
Hang
on. Plug in.
I'm plugging in. Low battery mode. Okay.
So on Journey, did you guys do any wind-up type stuff on Journey? Are you guys pretty good on that tour? Or are you?
Well, not really. I mean, I don't think the guys would accept it that great. But like my first Journey experience, I was working for Heart. Journey, Heart, and Cheap Trick toured together, and one of the last day episode of that tour, I remember Rick Nielson from Cheap Trick is famous for just guitar pick, guitar pick, guitar pick, guitar pick. I mean, he's got how many bags you think his tech has, Jeff? 20 or 30 gross of picks a week or something,
Oh yeah, I mean, there's
there would be the guys that would be working down front, like security and carps and camera guys and whatnot. They'd be scooping up a bucket full of guitar picks after Cheap Trick set every night. And for some reason, I don't know, somebody collected them, and then we did our last show of that tour at the Greek in LA there. You're familiar with the Greek, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Hearts in their last songs like Barracuda or something, and I'm mixing, and somebody blew the whistle or whatever. Next thing you know, I literally impounded with like 5,000 Rick Nielsen guitar picks out in front of the house. They're all in my console, in my hair, and my glasses, and I don't. It was pretty cool and a good funny moment, but I don't think that stuff would translate to doing something like that to the Journey guys on stage. So then again, I'm too far away from the stage anyway. I only get to get the view what these guys
pull off
in the pranks. Yeah.
Best view in the house.
Yeah, well, I mean, the guy right there was a master at pranks. So I get to watch his work all the time.
What year did you start with Journey?
14.
Yeah, 13 or 14.
13 or 14.
13. I think 13. Yeah. I like the Heart thing ended for me because of medical reasons, and that was a kind of shitty way it felt. I had to go home and get some medical attention done, and you take for granted that these guys I spent 8 years with, man, that was family, and then all of a sudden you don't see your family overnight.
Yeah,
that was a hard thing for me to get over there, and hey, we're still brothers long distance, but
Oh, yeah.
I miss him bitching at me for drinking coffee and catering, and you got to drink that swill when I know that he's got the coffee machine outside and things like that. He'd look at me like, I'll make you Americana. That was my. You go easy on me, huh, Jeff?
Neil Young, you got any cool Neil Young stuff? I had on here Sonny Moe, and Sonny toured with or he didn't. He didn't tour. He did a Crazy Horse album, so he knew Neil a bit, and he had some really great stuff. There were some fun stories for sure. Did you have good experiences?
Yeah, I did 3 tours with him. took a walk because you rehearsed at the White House, which is on his property. I think he still has a property. I don't know. I know he went through his divorce and stuff.
I feel like saying he kept it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I went on a walk because I always get up early, and I remember him looking at me going with those eyes, goes, "Want to take a walk?" And he looked at you and you're like, "Yeah, okay." And then he also, we talked about dogs a lot, and he'd show me see that tree? 300 years old. And then keep walking. You'll say, "Oh, okay, 300 years old. Awesome. Yeah, big redwood tree." I think I started asking about songs or dogs. He goes, "Try all my songs out on my dogs." The dog sits there and watches you as you're playing your song or, chord progression. If he sits there and he lays down there and you're doing okay, man, if he gets up and walks off, change your chord progression or change the record you're playing. Dogs know.
Hey, it worked for him.
I'm like, hey, no problem. So anyway, I wrote a kid's book about 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And I wrote about him to my dog, who's Carl, who's passed away, not just in last September. And
sorry, bud.
I've wrote like two children's books, and this one, Carl the Grateful Dog, available on Amazon and Audible. There's my plug.
Plug away.
I wrote that quote in the book that, because I was listening to the first song that he listened to when we came home from the shelter was Mansion on the Hill, because it's like the dog knows when the song is right, so anyway. But that quote that Neil told me, I wrote in my book. And so that's good. Let's see. Other stuff.
The train, right? Yeah. Didn't he buy the Lionel train or something like that?
He owns Lionel Train Company.
80% of Lionel trains. And one tour I helped set his train set up on a Horde tour. 1997. I think, yeah, it was he was on that tour, and then and the midway he had his train set up. So in the middle of the day, I'd go help set the trains up. Then he'd go play with his trains. So it's pretty cool. We had a semi full of trains.
Wow, I didn't realize he'd bring them with him.
Yeah, he brought on this tour. He did. He was part of the midway, and he was trying to really give Lionel a plug. And yeah, he had this huge, biggest train set you have in your life. It's bigger than Gomez's on the Addams Family.
Sonny had told me that up at the
100.
Sonny set up at the ranch. He had set up the trains where his son is disabled. He could actually run the trains. The son could. He had set it all up
by eye movement and stuff like that. Yeah,
wow.
Benny's pretty awesome. And he had the train set up inside of a train caboose. A train inside a train, So anyway, yeah. So that's pretty cool.
I bring a train and I'll raise you a train.
Exactly. The train inside of a train.
Jeff, that Jerry Don is his guy now.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
I love Jerry Don. He's awesome.
Jerry Don's been my bus driver 30 some odd years ago, and even his dad was my bus driver. I don't know if I'm aging myself.
Jerry Don Borden is a bus driver. Well, now he's more than a bus driver, but his dad was Hoot Borden, and there's not 50% of the guys working that have been working for a while have ridden on one of Hoot's buses. And Hoot was a legendary Nashville driver that's driven everyone.
Everyone. So
you tour with Hoot in the winter, and what I remember, it would be a big crock pot full of soup, and he'd just turn it on in the morning. And after sound check, the crew guys would walk out to the bus and get a nice cup of warm soup that Hoot had. Little things like that, man.
Yeah.
And his wife at the time, I don't think it was Jerry Don's mom, but his wife used to work for the sheriff's department in Nashville. And every time we get ready to go to Canada, we'd run everyone's name and see if everybody could get through by going on the computer back then to see if everybody was cool to go through Canada. It came up on the database. This is before mobile phones, for computers and all that stuff. You'd call up Hoot's wife and she would run your name through the database to see if you had any problems getting into Canada. True story. That might could be edited. I don't know, but anyways, but that was a lifesaver.
Yeah, we were on our way into Canada. I was with STP, and so the Charlie Hernandez, like, you just be honest when you get up there. So I got up and they're like, "Have you ever been arrested?" I'm like, "Yes, sir." And I just remember everybody looking at me like, "What the hell did you do?" Everyone's staring. I remember Dean DeLeo. He's on the bench, and he just kind of looks up at me like, "Really?
Really, you?
You? What did you do,
Man,
you moron?"
I was at the wrong place at the wrong time in like 1979 or 80. Got thrown out of court, whatever. But if I go into Canada and Montana or someplace, a weird border, it comes up. Because they go, "Hey, have you ever been arrested?" And they go, "What about 1979, sir?" I'm like, "Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay. No problem. Just wanted to know if you knew that." I was like, "Yeah." Like it happens in Montana and somewhere in New York, the border up there, So anyway, yeah, you got to be honest with them.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Yeah, they get you. They know. I haven't heard anybody. Nobody's talked about Elvis Costello yet. What year did you tour with him?
2005, 2007, and it did a little fill-in stuff in the late 80s. He's an incredible guitar player.
Yeah.
A lot of people go, man, you work for him. He's pretty badass.
So what year is that the album Spike? Do you remember that album Spike? Was that the
Spike?
tour?
Yep.
That was your tour?
Yep. That was. Veronica's on that.
That song Veronica is amazing, man.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, he's 2 songs at breakfast. They call him Mr. 2 Songs at Breakfast. He's written 2 songs before you had breakfast.
Oh. So he's like the Benjamin Franklin of touring, early to bed, early to rise.
Yeah. But pretty incredible. He's not the easiest person to work for.
That I've heard.
You think you're like technical. I'm like, "Oh, I got this guy down." No, you don't. He's got like eyes in the back of his head and in the side of his head that he sees if you're like not paying attention. And then he'll write you like an email like 2 days later. "Hey, I noticed on the 12th song or the 3rd verse and the whatever, you weren't really paying attention." And you're like, "Whoa, really?" Stuff like that. I mean, and then sometimes in the off season, I'll write him and it's like your long lost uncle writes you, and it's just like a heartfelt, just like thing. But when you're in the middle of the game,
yeah,
he's like,
you better be in the game.
You're working for him, and if you're on the 40 feet, like I work with a lot of people, man, they're awesome. But when you're on the 40 feet with them on stage, you work for them,
yeah.
They'll remind you, you'll get the look. He's got that 20-foot stare that will burn you, totally. But definitely an honor to work for.
He's so great. I mean, I
saw him last year and we sit and had dinner together and it was really cool. I was like his long lost nephew at dinner, and it was pretty cool. And we hung out for a little bit. Took my sister to the show. She had a good time. And it was
nice.
I live in St. Augustine. It was like the amphitheater is like 2 miles from me. So I can like pop down there pretty quick, and hung out with him for a while and saw the show, hung out after the show a little bit and on our way. So,
So no windups with Elvis Costello, because Elvis Costello kick your ass.
Yeah. It's, just an honor to work for him. I've worked for him like 4 or 5 times, kind of that I'm on the bench on the rotating kind of thing. What are you doing? Because I kind of know his, I know his vibe or whatever, because a lot of the same people he's had working for him, his tour manager, his production manager passed away about 4 years ago that I'd worked for him for 32 years, I think.
Oh, forever.
Tour managers worked for him for about that long. So I'm kind of still in the loop, if something happens, I can go out. If I'm not busy, I'll go help out however I can,
Right on.
But Ann's Garden takes precedence.
Right.
Well, whatever, it is now, whatever. I do whatever I can. I work for her 1 day a week, and I'm trying to get something together. We got 4 shows coming up. So I'm kind of going through the storage locker, getting some things together. And, I did that yesterday, and in this declutter business too. I have declutter people's garages and stuff like that. I cook for families. I cook for a family down the street from me for like a graduation week coming up.
Can I take this opportunity on the internet to thank Jeff for the best peanut butter and jelly sandwich I've ever had in my life?
And I make a fine blended peanut butter and jelly Dijon.
That peanut butter jelly sandwich was worth $1,000 that day, my friend. There's a story behind that, obviously, yeah, but I'll let him tell it. He tells it much
I have to
better
tell
than
it
if you want to, yeah.
Where we were going into Canada, and we got held up at the border for.
We were going to Canada to shoot a DVD.
DVD, yeah,
No rehearsal, like, just for heart.
Yeah, just straight in, and did a show the night before in Detroit or something, maybe, or somewhere, Ohio or something. We
got held up at the border because one of the guys in the crew had an issue. And we're showing up at this venue with full film crew and 10 Russian violinists, which don't speak a lick of English. And man, it's a thing. It's a full production, and we're going to record this DVD for resale and blah, blah, blah. It turned out to be, the longest day ever. And none of us got to take a breath. None of us even got coffee. None of us got. And somewhere along 3 or 4 o'clock in the evening, after continually working and sorting out the record truck and this and that, and I look up and there's my man right there walking through the venue with a bag of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches that he just took it upon himself to go make one for everyone.
I went to the bus and just made peanut butter and jelly sandwiches just to make as all vintage you can.
It was worth gold, man. That sandwich was worth gold that day. It was a long day. I remember it well. Yeah.
That was, yeah.
Being big goes a long way, man.
We pulled it off. The show went great. The DVD looked great, sounded great, and all. But
so is that the one? So Jeff has a credit on IMDb as the espresso technician.
Probably.
No, you do. I looked. You do.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. There's not a roadie credit you get every day.
Well, whatever I can, whatever I can do. I had a coffee endorsement for a while, but then they sold the company, and I had another deal with the coffee espresso machine makers. So I did pretty good with that. I'm like, pay me in product. In product. So there's plenty of product in my house, all this, lots of Breville stuff floating around, or Breville. Anyway.
So is Pearl Jam just a shitload of fun?
It was. I did the hard years with them. I did the hard years, from like early 93 until first part of 2006.
Oh,
pretty much everything. But I had to do other tours in between because that's a band that didn't tour a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They took Ticketmaster to court, or whatever, or they didn't tour a lot. They didn't do tours. They did events. They would do 2 weeks, and it would take 3 months to do 2 weeks with rehearsals and what have you. They didn't. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of seeing them rise. I worked for a guy that had to get help a few times. I had a guy with health problems that I worked for, and which I helped him a lot. We helped each other a lot. It was good times. It wasn't my choice to leave. So that was a little tough time for me. Just like when Mo left Heart, when I left Pearl Jam, it wasn't up to me. And somebody wanted to make a change, and it hurt, when I left that band. Since kind of we talk here and there. I think I talk more than I call them more than they call me, but whatever. So it was a good time,
Okay. Well, that's cool. And then, so Mo, you're gearing up to go on Lollapalooza is the word.
Yeah. We didn't tour much in 2019, which was good because I had a house to rebuild. And then we had a really great tour scheduled for 2020 with the Pretenders. It was like 78 shows, US and Canada. Ticket sales were great, and COVID becomes what it is, and that kind of ended that. So I've basically been home for 2+ years, and the indecision of what all of this looked like and stuff. I mean, literally for the last year or so, I thought, a good chance that I'm retired, and it sucked because it wasn't my choice to retire,
Yeah.
But I was trying to get right with it in my head. Am I ready to be done with this and blah, 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 blah. And then, lo and behold, things started to look like they were picking up around the world. And I got the call from Journey Management last week, and
Hey.
it's all good. We start middle of July. We'll do some rehearsal and a couple show little things here and there. And then the big thing is Lollapalooza, which I can say it now. We've known about it for a while, but it was announced yesterday or today. So we're doing Lollapalooza, which is happening in Chicago this year, and we're doing one of the big days there and getting the ball rolling again, which is great.
Hell yeah, that's killer.
Every year,
Jeff, do you know what you got coming up?
Say that again.
You got anything lined up yet?
I got like 4 shows with Ann in June, and then I have a week with Nancy, who's going to do a gig in Seattle with the symphony or something up there. She just wrote me a few weeks ago and said, save the date. So,
Right on.
So I'm back and forth between the sisters. They're doing separate stuff now. So I'm going to bide my time between the two.
So how big is the garden that you're tending to? Are we looking at tulips or trees or the whole damn yard? Are you like up in the tree trimming it, or are you
No, maybe a little bit, but mainly
fertilizer
plants to look like a lot of lilies and a lot of I have to look after a lot of flowers right now. It's spring, it's beautiful. I'll send you some pictures or whatever in my leisure. I think I took a bite last week, and I'll be working tomorrow. Everything's in full bloom right now.
So it's beautiful for real. It's nice.
Yeah, it's beautiful. My job looks good, and I haven't killed anything yet.
Good.
And it's been a full year of looking after things, so I really haven't killed a lot of stuff.
I'll be pulling some fucking corn next week, my man.
Good to hear.
We're kind of garden geeks. It's funny. Years ago on the Heart Bus, between Jeff, myself, the lighting guy, and stage manager and stuff, we're on the bus talking about our freaking tomatoes and bell peppers and whatever. And like, man, this conversation wouldn't have happened 20 years ago. Oh, we'd be talking about plants, but they wouldn't have been the edible plants 20 years ago. Times have changed. Times have changed.
Yeah.
That's right. You run home as soon as you get home. You run outside and see what your garden looks like.
Yeah.
Push the not that we have children or whatever, so our children are as our garden. So stuff like that is we've changed for the better.
I pick on you, but I like succulents, cactus. Love it. So
I got into it a while back. That's therapy, man. Being home, hands in the dirt.
Yeah,
I like it.
So, question. So, my friends, I was going to start this podcast thing, and my friend has a kid in 5th grade, and her girlfriends were over. And so they said, we have a question that you need to ask your guests. And it was, you should ask them when they first felt like they were famous. And I do like the idea of it, because you don't need to be a celebrity to feel famous. I don't think she quite understood that, but you don't. And I've had some great answers. So my question to each of you guys is, when did you first feel famous? And it could be successful, or, when did you feel celebrity, or what's the first event that comes to mind where you looked out and went like, fuck yeah.
You want to feel that first? I kind of know mine, I think.
Go ahead.
We talked earlier before you came on, Jeff. Joel and I talking about, how he got into it. And the span of his touring career when he said he had enough and stuff. But, we kind of came up, I personally came up just, I left the job. I went to electronics school and left the job with benefits to work for a band for literally like no money. And, lo and behold, it paid off in the end. But
what band was it that was no money? What was the first gig?
There was a metal band here in New Orleans that I kind of grew up with called Lillian Axe. They're now about to do their 12th record or something. They got a record deal with MCA, put out some records. Amazing band, never really reached the peak of what I think they should have. But just a great band. And we all kind of grew up together in the industry, but everything goes back into the band, whatever money was made. Nobody was making money on it, but I wouldn't trade those times for anything. It was the most fun part of my life,
Yeah.
But, when it really it became a career by accident. I didn't set out to be an audio guy as a career. It just did. You move on and you start making some money and you all of a sudden become successful in it, blah, blah, blah. The first time my father chose to pull the FedEx driver into the house to show him my memorabilia and brag on me.
Yeah.
I think that was, because you leave a job with benefits for nothing. Your parents who come from a different generation are all about security, right? And it took a while for him to relate to that. And, when he saw the success and then to see the accolades that I've gotten, some whatever from other people and this and that and all. But when I noticed that he was proud, that was a big thing for me. That makes sense? Yeah.
It totally does. You're not the first one to say that. So it's good.
Thank you.
Jeff, when you were doing the gardening and the bees were happy, they kept coming over. You were.
That's it. Well, I was. You got to always ask a roadie what they were before they were a roadie.
Mm-hmm.
And I was working restaurants. I was studying to be a chef, a sous chef, and then I started working for friends' bands. And then one band got a little bit more popular, and they started going out of town. And I worked for this chef that was really cool, that literally liked music a lot. So he worked in Nashville, and then, you start getting a Memphis gig, you get an Atlanta gig, you go to Knoxville, Tennessee, go to Louisville, Kentucky, and I got off on the weekends to help my friend's band. And if you're working in a restaurant, you get off on a weekend, you got a pretty good boss that would let you off on a Friday and Saturday night, to go out of town to do it. But I would just have to work a bunch during the week. And then that band got more popular. And then I got offered, I think I was making $250 a week in the restaurant, working like 50 hours a week. It was like 1983 or 84 or something like that. And then I got offered, and then I think I got offered $300 a week to go on tour. Here's a flashlight, $300 a week, all the beer you can drink and whatever you want to do. Here you go. Remember, it was like, gave me a flashlight. Here you go. So, I don't know if that's why I've become famous, which I don't think. I'm still just some dude that, I'm definitely not the best. I'm never like, oh, look at me. It's like blessed for sure, because I work for a lot of amazing people, and 90% of them are just regular people. So I work for like really, people that you can pretty much are approachable to some degree, and I mean, it's just, I
agree. I don't care for the word famous either, because I don't consider myself in that category.
Hey, I don't have to my neighbors still don't really, everywhere I've lived, they've never quite figured out what I've done. He's never home. Look, he's at home for a long time. Look, he brings in my trash can. Oh, wait, he's gone for 3 months. What does that guy do? He's staring, he's talking to his trees in his yard. He's walking around in circles, and walking in circles, talking on the phone, trying to explain something. Oh, look, he's talking to the mailman for 10 minutes, or something like that, Just not the usual job, or like, hey, I'm at, I don't know, kind of not, I don't have a Joe job or whatever. Never had like a real job. I mean, I have, but I mean, when you've been doing, you just don't have the 9 to 5 job. I lived in San Diego, and people go, man, don't you hate the traffic here? I'm like, man, I don't do nothing before 10. And if it's after 3, I'm not going out,
You live in San Diego now?
No, I live in St. Augustine, Florida, but I used to live in San Diego, and I was like, people were like, doesn't the traffic bother you? And I was like, I don't do nothing before 10 o'clock in the morning by driving, and I don't do anything after 3 o'clock if I have to drive, no, so never really had to adjust to 9 to 5 living or rush hour or anything like that.
That's definitely one of the perks.
Yeah, just in doing stuff. I mean, Mo plays golf during the week. I go to the beach during the week. I don't go to the beach on the weekends. There's terrorists at the beach.
I don't fish on the weekend because there's too many people on the water. You're right.
Yeah, exactly. I go camping during the week. That's where I was a couple weeks ago. I went on this going camping. It's Tuesday. It's not quite 100 degrees in Florida yet. Good time to camp. Do it during the week.
Yeah.
Nobody else camps during the week.
So who do you go camping with?
I went with a couple friends of mine a couple weeks ago, and then went last week. Was it last? Yeah, last week I just went on a whim. Me and my dog went on a whim of a trip where I got my van set up that I can sleep in, and I went to the west coast of Florida, Cape San Blas, to visit a couple friends of mine that were there from Nashville that I used to work in a restaurant with 40 years ago.
Oh, right on.
So, I keep in touch with a lot of people from around the world. I meet a lot of people. I stay in touch with a lot of people. People always said, hey man, if you ever come to town, you can stay at my house. I've done it before. All those people you meet on the road. Hey, if you ever come back to town, here I am. And I've done the vacations around the world, and those free tickets I gave you, well, here's the payback.
Right.
Yeah.
Here's the couch.
if we were able to collect on all those free tickets we passed out over the years, we'd be doing all right.
Yes. We would be. We would definitely be doing all right.
Well, all right, guys. Thanks. Thanks for your time, and I look forward to talking to you both again.
Okay.
Hey, pleasure, Joel. Good meeting you, Jeff.
Do you ever have any? Sorry, what you say, Mo?
I said it was a pleasure to finally meet you. Put a face with the voice, and
yeah.
Jeffo, you're my man. I love you.
All right, brother. I'll send you some pictures of those flowers.
Yeah, I'd be into that. I like that stuff.
I'll send you a picture when I harvest my first bushel of corn. So I'm growing corn right now. I've never done it before, and I'm such a geek over it. It's amazing. So yeah.
I just roasted corn on the grill in the cob.
I might do some of that too.
It's very good. Just burn it. That's all you got.
I'm gonna bail too. You guys take care. It's a pleasure, man.
All right, brother.
Cool. Okay, I'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Later, guys.
Okay, bye. Hey, thanks for watching Party Like a Rockstar. If you're not already subscribed to the Facebook or YouTube channels, do it. We're also on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. The handle is Party of Stars. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.